Welcome to the studio. In my sketchbook, I'm just making a few notes of the design I want to create on a full sheet of paper, and some large flowers, obviously going to be roses, and a few smaller ones with leaves and maybe darker sprigs in between. So now we're just going to draw that on an A4 sheet of paper, because we can get 4 postcards from one A4 sheet. Here are some regular watercolor postcards from a previous project, and I'll get back into that later in the video, but I just want to show you the back. So you normally have an address part and a center line, so we'll draw that out with a uni pin, which is an extremely fine liner. I like to use that so it's not bold, wild strokes, but fine lines. So center line and then 4 lines on the left hand top, so that you can mail your little postcard. Next up, I want you to have a look at my 2020 Inktober playlist. You'll find it underneath my playlists, and there is a huge variety of watercolor postcard videos that you can indulge in, and I did it in 4 parts where you'll discover what I did when you go through the whole series. And there's 28 videos. I might have skipped a day or so. Alright, I'll put those aside and mix up a few puddles of color. First up, I'm just going to loosen up what's in there and just add some more. So we're doing a little bit of green over here, and I'll wake that up with some, it's like a limey mustardy green, and then add a little bit of sap green, and just to dull it down a little bit, you'll see me add in a little bit of black later. That black just mutes the brightness of the green. Not too much though, just a little bit. Next up, we'll grab that vermilion, that orange, and fill up that puddle as well. We're going to make the bigger roses orange, so that we can have some vibrancy in our 4 postcards. So nice big puddle. You can again mute that a little bit with some green, just a little bit. There we go. And then last but not least, let's loosen up that red, and for that I'm going to use the darkest red in this puddle, well, not puddle, in this palette. I'm liking it more and more. It's almost a burgundy red. On the other side, I'm adding in cadmium red just to liven that up a bit, but you'll see that I go back to the deep burgundy red, and even at some stage add a little bit of violet to deepen it up even more and to cool it down. I happen to like a cool color in between all those warms, just to, I don't know, even out the balance. Once you start to experiment with your colors and color combinations, you'll figure out what it is that you do like more, and mostly stick to those colors. Here I'm just mixing up a darker version of that burgundy, trying out some browns, a little bit of black, adding in colors that I think will add more luster to that. But again, later in the video you'll see me actually dulling that down to a cool grey, a dark cool grey. So what we're doing here is filling out those random shapes we made for the large roses and darkening up the centers a little bit. And we can go through every rose, and it's nice to have that wet in wet technique initially, not to have the colors too dark, because we are going to add extra layers. You can go and fill in all those larger rose shapes with some oranges and variations of orange. We don't want all of them the same, just as they are on the trees and on the bushes. They do have varying colors, and the same with this design as well. Try and make them a little bit different every time. And remember, don't add the centers in the middle of the shape, otherwise they might end up looking like donuts. So spread them out a little bit and pretend like you're looking at it from an angle as you develop those layers. I'll leave you with some music and catch up with you when we get to the leaves. Okay, so we're ready for the leaves, and we're going to do exactly the same thing, but this time just fill in the leaf shapes and try not to have it too precise. Just follow the basic outlines and put in leaf shapes. I'll let you get to it. Now in these layers, we are going to focus more of the color in the center and work out or blend out some of the color to the pale edges. This will give your rose a little bit of dimension and also feather out and soften out those edges. The more you do this, the more you'll realize it does take some practice. So for starters, we can have smaller round shapes in the center. Don't connect all the lines with each other. Swirl them around and leave some gaps. And as you move around to the outer edges, thicken up those lines and lay them down with thinner washes of color. This will bring in those shadowy areas of your petals and give the rose more shape. So I'll let you have a look while we do the rest of these large ones, and note how I start very fine and small in the center and thicken up those strokes as I move out to the edges. Next up, I want to do those smaller roses, again not making round shapes, just random shapes. And you'll see I wanted to do a wet and wet technique there, but decided against it, and we'll use the same technique as I did with the orange roses. So first fill out those random shapes and let the layers dry in between. I'm going to mix up that dark colour I talked about earlier by using a little bit of that really deep red and mixing in with Viridian. The Viridian just cools that down and darkens it up very quickly. You can see it on the paper as I start drawing out. These are just random little lines and squiggly marks and brush strokes for leaves, just so that we can have a little bit of detail that doesn't distract from the flowers but also helps them stand out. You can make any type of shape if you like. It just feels like this needs a little bit of a leafy theme, but I didn't want to bring in more green. Alright, you have a go at yours and I'll meet you back later. What I'm doing here is filling in those bare edges because we are going to cut out 4 separate pieces. I need there to be no open gaps and have, even if it looks like a cut in half rows, that is fine. We just need it to go straight to the edge as if we've cut a piece of fabric. So I'll just pretend like there are more roses on the edges and fill in some of that outer petals in a lighter shade, and then a little bit of leaves here and there just to complete the overall look of the whole sheet. So there's a saying that goes corner to corner, edge to edge. It's a must. So let's go and fill in all those last empty little bits. I just spotted an empty rose, and I'm going to fill in the center details for that one quickly just before we finish up. And I'll show you how to cut and get your 4 pieces like I promised in the beginning. We are going to make 4 watercolor pieces today, and we're going to do that by cutting this one into 4 pieces. So I'll move my things out of the way to make room, and I've got my sheet of paper, and as a last minute thing I decided to wake up some of that gold paint and just create some splatters all over the page. This will just give whoever is on the receiving end a little bit of sparkle to look at. When you have your paint on your brush like that and it's nice and juicy, you can literally shake it off onto the page in little blobs. I'll show you a close-up pretty soon. Hello, I thought I'd pop in here quickly to give you a little bit of a rundown. Now, you discovered this video and it's possibly in 2 playlists. The one is the Watercolour Postcards and the other one is Meet Me in the Studio. Either way, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll get to the cutting out of the 4 postcards in the next segment. But I just wanted you to know that I left you with a free shipping code underneath this video, and there are some of my items on my website that are $9, and the free shipping code is for $9. So potentially you could get some art for basically free. I do invite you to join in and go and get that piece of art for $9, or get a $9 shipping free discount. I'll see you in the next segment and finish off this video for today. Thank you guys. Bye. Alright, I'm going to use the back of the paper I painted with. It's Art Tech watercolor paper. It's one of Australia's brands. So I'll put that down because I'm too lazy to go and get my cutting mat, and just measure out first. Always measure twice and cut once. So I did make faint marks and then I couldn't find them, so I will be remeasuring and drawing them. I wanted to eyeball that, but I don't think I'm going to do it. Let's measure it out properly. Finding the center is quite easy. You just use your ruler, see what the total length is, and divide it by 2. I know we've got some younger viewers as well, so that is to help them out. Alright, measure twice, check. Next side. And I'm not making bold marks, just a little tick. Make sure that I can see it. Alright, put your metal ruler down, or any ruler, it's just easier with a metal ruler. And because this paper is fairly thick, I need to go over it a couple of times. Alright, test it, not yet. Okay, there we go. And then of course there's no measurements in the center, so I'll have to just make a little mark there again. There we go. And on the other one. Okay, so here we go. Cut again. Nice and thick paper this. I don't suppose I'll have to say that we have to be really careful with these sharp blades, and if you are one of my younger viewers, please ask an adult to help you. Sharp objects can be very dangerous and we don't want you to cut yourself. And if you're painting this for Mum, you better ask Dad to help, because we don't want Mum to see these, right? There we go. Now we've got 4 beautiful postcards that are not exactly the same, but they do belong together. This will also make the perfect gift. You can round those corners if you want to, and you can copy the address lines over on the back of each of them, or you can stick them down onto a regular piece of cardstock. The cardstock is folded in half, and that will give you a lovely piece to use as a card. Alright, we are done for today, and I'm going to just remind you that below this video is a couple of links you can click, and we'll see each other next week. Bye bye, arty friends.